I'm Natividad in North York. In just about 2 weeks, many high school students will be returning to class at least part-time. But for the students at one Catholic secondary school, they'll be able to learn in a brand new building come January. It's one that the Catholic board says has features that make it a little bit easier to learn in the time of COVID. Just down the street from their current school is a work in progress for the students of St. Joseph's Morrow Park Catholic Secondary School. Located at Bayview and Cummer, the new digs were a decade in the making. And while it wasn't built because of the pandemic, those involved with the project say the design has helped in ways they could not have foreseen.
A lot of those features that we put in, the natural ventilation systems, the improved mechanical ventilation systems during the winter, the operable windows, the open airy spaces that allow for social distancing, all these things that we were doing just because they're the right thing to do anyway has now kind of paid back twice in the time of COVID-19.
The school was supposed to be ready for the start of the school year, but the pandemic threw a wrench in those plans.
When it came to the shutdown in April, that really hammered us.
It is now ready for a January move-in, and in that time, the board will be making sure the proper safety protocols are in place. Things like PPE, hand washing stations, and more.
There will be directional arrows that will be providing students with the directions in terms of how they should be moving through the building.
One of the biggest points of pride, this courtyard, an outdoor learning and recreation space. It happens to be especially useful during a pandemic where virus spread is known to lessen in outdoor settings. Urban planning expert Maddie Simiaticki says these types of features will likely be more common in schools in a post-pandemic world.
We're going to see schools being redeveloped and redesigned with better air circulation, ensuring that the windows open. That's often something that's very minor, but in a lot of schools, the windows don't open, and making sure that the airflow internally is good. Then there's the way that the spaces are laid out so that kids can be separated and provided with enough physical distancing. Oftentimes, our schools are very cramped.
Poor air circulation and lack of space is a problem for schools across the city, but is most commonly seen in schools located where the risk of COVID-19 transmission is high.
This has been a critical point. The school board has put out information recently showing where the high-risk schools are, and in many instances they're in our lowest income communities, our racialized communities, communities with more newcomers. I can think of Thorncliffe Park in Toronto, for example, where a school was built that is now the magnet and the hub for a community. You see all members of the community coming to drop off their kids in the morning and pick up their kids in the afternoon, and how we then make that safe in a post-pandemic world, I think, is really important.
Meaning the planning of neighborhoods and the modes of transportation are just as important as the design of the school itself. Something to think about in order to make safe schools a more equitable reality. In Toronto, Natividad, City News.